Hi, and welcome to the NHGA Volunteer Webinar. My name is Chris Ingham, NHGA Tournament Director, and I'd like to thank each of you for your interest in supporting our mission to grow the game of golf in the Granite State. During this presentation, you'll hear from 3 of our 4 full-time staff members as we cover a myriad of different volunteering opportunities, as well as some rule and handicap changes. The game of golf plays a vital role in the Granite State. Established in 1905, the primary function of the NHGA is to foster, promote, conserve, and administer the game of golf throughout the state. We also serve as one of 59 USGA allied golf associations. Duties of an AGA include to administer USGA handicap and course rating systems within defined geographic areas across the country. And in addition, we serve as the community's primary resource for USGA services such as championship qualifiers. Now, with our limited number of full-time staff members and interns, volunteers have become the lifeblood of our association. We do a myriad of things, as mentioned before, starting with handicap administration. Amateur golfers who are members of golf clubs are generally eligible for official handicaps upon payment. You can also gain handicap access through our website with the 5 online clubs that we've set up. We also administer around 50 events per year, have a junior golf tour. And as mentioned before, as an AGA, we handle course rating, host rules of golf seminars, both in the fall and spring, and maintain the amateur status in our state. As for community outreach, as mentioned before, the game of golf plays a vital role in New Hampshire's economy. It emphasizes the protection of the environment and giving back to charitable causes, all things that we feel are extremely important here at the NHGA. For our 4 full-time staff members, we have Executive Director Matt Schmidt, myself, Tournament Director Chris Ingham, Director of Member Services and Communications Kate Billings, and finally Director of Junior Golf and Tournament Operations Kinsey Hoffman. Volunteer at the New Hampshire Golf Association and give back to the game you love. Through this rewarding experience, you'll be part of a community of passionate golfers who are paving the way for the future generations to enjoy the sport that's given so much to you. Volunteers at our events fall into 2 categories mainly, tournament volunteers or course rating volunteers. More experienced volunteers could possibly work their way up to becoming a member of our board of directors, which consists of 13 volunteer individuals that work to really, alongside myself, Kinsey, Kate, and Matt, to lead golf throughout the Granite State. Now, the NHGA, as mentioned before, typically runs around 50 events annually. These are championships such as your state amateur or state open, along with the mid-am, or one-day events such as our tournament series or stroke play series. There's a lot of different formats that we utilize, and it's really, we take great pride in attention to every detail, whether it's 156 player multi-round championship or the smaller events like we had mentioned. And since 1998, the NHGA has promoted a junior program that creates playing opportunities for players of all skill levels and abilities. Beyond that, we have added many women's events throughout the past 10 years and look to continue to promote the women's side of the game as well, to really make our organization benefit all golfers throughout the state. Most recently, we have taken over the administration of all NHGA championships as well. So our key areas of help and where it's needed are really at our state amateur qualifiers. We have 6 of them this season, all within a week's span, the 3rd week of June. And then also at our majors, as mentioned before, there are 3 of them. Most importantly, we have the State Am. It's a 6-day event, 156 player field with a stroke play qualifying into match play. And then our State Open, which is a 3-day event, 156 player field with professional and amateur players, and it's a stroke play only event. And what we're really looking for is individuals that are passionate about the game and understand the basics of the rules, but are really open to working with our staff and learning more about the game and what tournament administration is all about. We also need individuals that are able to commit as much time as possible, understanding that everyone's schedule is really busy in this day and age. Now, at our events, there are a couple different categories in which volunteers fall into. You could be accompanying a group as a referee or an observer, or you could be on course as an on-course official, like a starter, a rules rover, forcing pace of play, or spotting. A referee is an official named by the committee to decide the questions of fact and apply the rules. They must act on any breach of a rule which they observe or is reported to them. And we'll dive into the position a little bit more in the following slides. Now, a referee is assigned to either to an individual match or matches to govern the play of groups in stroke play. Their function is to provide assistance to players with regards to the rules of golf, pace of play, and any other related questions a group might have. The referees are appointed based on their knowledge of the rules and officiating experience. In stroke play, a referee is responsible for acting on any breach of the rule or rules that he or she is told about or sees, very similar to match play. However, you won't be really sticking with a specific group in most situations during our events. Now, the referee ends up ultimately being ruled by the committee of which they are a member of. So the committee is the person or group in charge of the competition or the course, but within that committee, the role of some members may be limited. Some decisions may require the agreement of specific members, and some responsibilities may be delegated to people outside the committee as well. One of those positions within the committee is a rules official. Note the word committee. It's not just one person. We don't need someone to go off on their own and kind of make their own decisions and be the law, so to speak, like a Barney Fife type. We're more looking for someone that's going to be able to work with their knowledge of the rules and the resources available to them at an event, such as the committee, the rules chairman, or tournament director, or NHGA staff member that's on site. Now, a good rules official is one who makes sure the competition is conducted under the rules of golf, assists players around the golf course with pace of play and spotting, etc., is alert and prevents penalties when possible, investigates all the facts in a situation before making a ruling, and knows where and how to find a situation in the rules book quickly, not necessarily how to quote the rules book. You'll always have your rules book on you. It's a great resource, and we're not expecting anyone to memorize the rules book. It's extremely long and in detail and be very difficult task. And to continue, a good rules official is someone who uses the radio to report and confirm any rulings before they are given. Radio etiquette is extremely important at events, and the reason for that is you could be in a location where not everyone has an earpiece. You could be distracting to players, and you could really cause some unnecessary repercussions due to those situations. So just being cognizant of where you're at in the situation that you're in when you're reporting to someone or answering or listening to the radio is really important as a rules official. A good rules official also has has confidence in their ability. This obviously comes ultimately with experience. They bring a willingness to learn at each event, and they spend the necessary time to learn and understand the rules of golf. Beyond that, we want individuals that bring a good demeanor to the golf course and represent themselves and the NHGA in the best possible way. A good rules official is also someone that can speak clearly to competitors and conveying information, both good and bad. You are possibly going to come into a situation where you have to communicate with a player that they have incurred a penalty of some sort due to an action or a breach of the rules that they have made. And these situations can be uncomfortable at times, but the greater your experience and the more confidence that you have that you're conveying the correct information to this individual will give you ultimately the greater ability to do so. Accuracy is key to officiating. You want to make sure that you confer with your fellow officials. As mentioned multiple times thus far, you are a member of a committee, and ultimately we as a whole will want the best situation and outcome at an event. So you want to consult with the NHGA staff. We're a great resource for you, and most inaccurate rulings can be prevented by these types of consultations, either over the radio or in person. And lastly, a really important part of officiating is to be conspicuously inconspicuous, aka being seen without being seen. You want to make sure that you position yourself in an area where you can be accessed if necessary by players, but you don't want to be in an area that could be distraction or in their line of sight when playing. Our observers function primarily as, excuse me, four caddies. A spotter slash four caddy is a volunteer situated on trouble holes on the golf course. Their function is to locate errant shots made by competitors. A spotter slash four caddy may signal his estimate of the location of the ball struck by a player. These signals are purely informational, however, and it is the responsibility of the player to decide whether or not to play a provisional ball when he or she believes the ball may be out of bounds or lost in a penalty area. Just please note that a four caddy should never make a ruling, and make sure that if there is a ruling that needs to be made, that you contact over the radio a member of the committee or possibly a rules official that's nearby. The duties of a spotter slash observer continued. It's usually best to work ahead of a match in match play and position yourself in an area where balls are expected to come to rest, as mentioned before. It's also integral during match play that you help the referee in determining order of play. The starter at an NHGA event will be responsible for issuing players a copy of the local rule sheet, hole locations, as well as answering any event-related questions a player may have prior to teeing off. Now, you're also going to want to announce the competitor's name and affiliation as they take the tee. For example, welcome to the 117th New Hampshire Amateur Championship. This is round one. This round one, 7:30 starting time. Now on the tee from Passaconaway Country Club, John DeVito, and the player will take the tee and tee off from there. You want to make sure that you radio the official slash staff members in charge with any rules questions that might come up, and continue to follow that same protocol that we've mentioned in the previous slides. Now, as the official starter after the morning meeting, you're going to want to locate your proper starting box, whether you're on the first or 10th tee, and make sure you arrive to that tee 15 to 20 minutes earlier. You'll be able to make sure that the tee is in order, and that only players and caddies or NHGA officials on duty are in or around the surrounding area, and that you have all supplies necessary so that your first tee can be successfully run throughout the event. Here you'll notice a checklist of items that an NHGA tournament volunteer would have to utilize at a given event. If you have any questions about the slides or information that were covered up to this point, please reach out to me via email at chris@nhga.com, or excuse me, nhgolf.com, as I'd be happy to help. And as we move on into some rules of golf information, I'll pass this along to my colleague, Director of Junior Golf and Tournament Operations, Kinsey Hoffman.
All right. Hi, everyone. Like Chris said, my name is Kinsey Hoffman. I'm the director for junior golf and tournament operations at the NHGA. I run all of our junior events as well as our women's events, and I'm going to take you through some of the most commonly used rules that you'll see throughout a round, as well as some of the major changes that we got last year in 2019.
When you drop in relief areas defined by 1 or 2 club lengths. In the 2019 rules, a club length will always mean the length of the longest club in your bag, except your putter. For most players, that club will be their driver, but not always. This player is using his driver to measure his 2 club length lateral relief area outside a red penalty area. This player's back on the line relief area is 1 club length on either side of and behind the point he has chosen on the line from the hole through where his ball was unplayable in the bunker. He is estimating the size of his relief area without measuring, then dropping well within 1 club length of that point. Finally, when a player measured with a shorter club, it is still the longest club in their bag except the putter that defines the relief area. Remember, when you drop, your ball must always land in, come to rest in, and be played from the relief area. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
So one of the major changes that you all saw in that video is that now we are dropping from knee height instead of shoulder height. So you're always going to want to make sure that you are dropping from knee height, or else you're going to have to do it again. Another big change is we are now building our relief areas like you saw in the video. They're kind of like half circles or crescents, if you will. You are still using your longest club and your bag beside your putter to build your relief area. It is okay to, if you're not near your bag, to estimate your relief area as long as it is well within the club length, and you know it is. If you do, let's say you have an iron with you, if that's the only club you have, it is okay to use a shorter club to build your relief area and measure, but your actual relief area will still be the length of your longest club other than your putter. So like, let's say your driver. In this case, if you only have your iron, your relief area would possibly extend past your iron to measure to the size of your longest club.
When taking relief from a penalty area for one penalty stroke, one of your relief options in the 2019 rules is going back on the line. Follow these steps. Estimate the point on the edge of the penalty area where your ball last crossed as it went in. Imagine a straight line running from the hole through that estimated point and extending behind the penalty area. Go back as far as you like and identify a spot on that line. Measure or estimate a 1 club length wide relief area on either side of and behind that spot. In the 2019 rules, a club length is always the longest club in your bag except your putter. Then drop a ball in the relief area. Your dropped ball must land in and be played from the relief area. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
All right, to kind of review, back on the line relief, you are going to estimate where your ball went into the penalty area. You're going to take the line from the hole back through where your ball went in, and you can go back as far as you would like. From there, you're going to choose your reference point, and that is going to be where we're going to build our relief area. So if it's 1 club length, you're going to, or you saw in the video, you get 1 club length on either side of your relief area. Reference point, and then you're going to create that circle or that half circle going backwards. You're going to drop the ball from your knee, and you're going to continue to play from there. Your ball cannot drop or be played near the hole than that chosen reference point. So we have to make sure that we're dropping the ball and the ball is staying behind that reference point you chose.
In the 2019 rules, when you take lateral relief from a red penalty area under a 1-stroke penalty, estimate the point on the edge of the penalty area where your ball last crossed as it went in. Starting at that point, measure or estimate your 2 club lengths relief area outside the penalty area that is not nearer the hole. In the 2019 rules, club lengths are the length of the longest club in your bag, except your putter, and then drop a ball in that area. Your drop ball must land in and come to rest in the relief area. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
All right, so for lateral relief, it's a little different than back on the line relief. Your reference point is going to be right on the line where your ball last crossed into the penalty area, and so you're going to start building your relief area from there. You can go 2 club lengths back and keep it on the line. Again, you're going to drop from your knees, making sure that the ball does not drop outside of your relief area. And once the ball has landed, you're good to go. You can continue playing your shot.
In the 2019 rules, when dropping and taking free relief or penalty relief, your ball must be dropped in the defined relief area, and it must come to rest in there too. Most of the time, with the knee-height dropping procedure, that will happen on your first drop. When it doesn't, drop a second time. If that drop doesn't stay within the relief area either, place a ball where your second drop first touched the ground. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
All right, so I kind of already mentioned this in the first video, but again, to reiterate, we are dropping now from the knee height. It just kind of increases the chance that the ball will stay in the relief area that we've built. But in the case that the ball, might roll out of the relief area on the first drop, we are going to drop again. If it continues to roll out, maybe on the side of a hill or something, after that second drop, if the ball rolls out of your relief area, where that second ball hit the ground is where you're going to place the ball. You're not going to drop it that time. We're going to place the ball inside the relief area, and then you'll be good to continue with your shot.
Under the 2019 rules, there is no penalty if you accidentally move your ball while searching for it. If you do, replace your ball back on its original spot. If you don't know the original spot exactly, like this player, simply estimate it, including how the ball was lying under the grass, and replace the ball there.
All right, so I think the biggest change in this area that we're going to see is that when you are searching for the ball, the time that you've been allowed to search has changed from 5 minutes down to 3 minutes. And like you saw in the video, if you hit your ball into some fescue and you're looking for it, and you happen to either accidentally kick the ball, not on purpose, or you hit it with your club on accident while searching for the ball, you're not going to receive a penalty for that, but you do need to replace the ball as close as you can to the original conditions you found it, and then you'll be able to continue with your shot from that point.
Under the 2019 rules, if you accidentally move your ball or ball marker on the putting green, there is no penalty. For example, if you accidentally move your ball in making a practice swing or in preparing for your stroke, drop your ball marker on your ball and move it. Move your ball with your foot. Or cause your ball marker to move. There is no penalty, and you simply replace your ball or ball marker on its original spot. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
All right, so as you saw in the video, there are many ways that you could have accidentally moved your ball on the putting green or your ball marker. If one of these happens, there is no penalty and you are allowed to replace your ball on the original spot or your ball marker on its original spot. Another thing to mention that happens specifically on a putting green, if by chance your ball has been lifted clean in place and you're getting ready to putt and a big gust of wind comes through and moves your ball, 2 inches to the right, you are allowed to replace your ball on the original spot before the wind moved it. This is only allowed on the putting green, not in the fairway or a bunker or anything else like that.
The 2019 rules allow you to repair almost any damage on the putting green. In addition to ball marks and old hole plugs, you are allowed to repair spike marks and any other damage caused by shoes, repair animal damage, and repair damage caused by maintenance practices. The fixing and repairing of the putting green must be done promptly and must not improve your line of play beyond the repair of the damage. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
So the biggest change that we see here, or not in the video, but it's worth mentioning, that a lot of you all have probably implemented, is that you're now allowed to leave the flag stick in the hole and continue to play out the hole with no penalties at that point for leaving the flag stick in. But if you have chosen to leave the flag stick in and your ball strikes the flag stick while going in the hole, there's not going to be a penalty for that anymore. Another thing to mention is that pretty much anything can be repaired on the putting green: spike marks, shoe damage, ball marks that you've always been able to be repaired. All of that can now be repaired without any kind of penalty or anything like that, as long as you are not repairing the green to improve your line of play or your lie beyond the damage that was already there.
The 2019 rules introduced the term penalty area, which includes areas previously known as water hazards. If you find your ball in a penalty area and want to play it from there, the same rules apply as when playing a ball from the fairway or the rough. So before making a stroke, you are allowed to move loose impediments, make practice swings that touch the ground or any water inside the penalty area, and ground your club near your ball. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
All right, it's worth noting here, we've kind of said it throughout this little rules presentation, but the word penalty area has replaced the word water hazard or hazard. They mean the exact same thing, we're just using different language there. But now a major change that has happened within these penalty areas is that you can ground your club and move loose impediments and take those practice swings that you used to not be able to do. So basically, you know, you can do anything in the penalty area that you'd be able to do in the fairway in terms of moving the loose impediments and taking those practice swings. So that is a really nice change that's happened.
Under the 2019 rules, there is no penalty for moving loose impediments when your ball is in a bunker. However, some bunker restrictions continue to exist. For example, you are still not allowed to touch the sand with your club, behind or in front of your ball, when making a practice swing, or when making your backswing. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
So not too much has changed in this rule with the bunkers. You're still not allowed to touch the sand with your club in front or behind your ball, make any kind of improvements to your lie or your direction of play. But you are allowed to move those loose impediments. So like you saw in the video, a leaf that might have been to the side of your ball, you can pick that up as long as you're not moving the ball, and definitely toss it aside to continue your shot.
When you decide your ball in a bunker is unplayable, under the 2019 rules, you have an extra option that lets you drop back on the line outside the bunker for a penalty of 2 strokes. Imagine a straight line running from the hole through where your unplayable ball is. Identify a spot on that line as far behind the bunker as you like. Measure or estimate a 1 club length wide relief area on either side of and behind that spot. Then drop a ball in that area. Your dropped ball must land in and be played from the relief area. To learn more, please visit usga.org/rules.
So this is a new change from the 2019 rules that has been implemented. We don't see it used that often just because it does require you to take the 2 penalty strokes instead of just 1 for a normal relief. But if you do find that your ball is unplayable in a bunker, you do now have the option to go back on the line, kind of like back on the line for a penalty area relief. You're going to take where your ball was unplayable, take the line from the hole. You can go back as far as you want to. You're going to create that reference point and build your relief area on that with 1 club length on either side. We're going to create that half circle, half moon like we've been doing. And then you're going to, once you drop the ball, you are going to play it out kind of like how you would take relief from a penalty area. But it's just going to cost you 2 strokes for that. All right, so we actually don't have a video on this slide. So pace of play is kind of a major part of golf. We always want to have a good pace of play. It's recommended that we're not taking longer than 40 seconds to set up and make that stroke. We're always encouraging at the NHGA and anywhere for people to play ready golf. And ready golf might mean that you're playing out of order. If someone has a harder shot and they're the furthest from the hole, but someone that's closer is just right in the middle of the fairway, if the players give the okay to do so, there's no penalty for playing out of turn, but the player that's closer to the hole can go ahead and play even though it is technically out of play. We're just trying to keep the game moving. Players are encouraged to walk at a good pace and really not hold up the people that might be behind them. So I am now going to turn it over to our Director of Communications, Kate Billings.
Thanks, Kinsey. Hi, everybody. As Kinsey mentioned, I'm the Director of Communications and Member Services for the NHGA, so I handle any gym-related questions that come in, and I handle all of the course rating. So basically, I'll take you through the course rating process, give you a little background on it, and show you how it relates to the new World Handicap System. So basically, the fundamentals of the course rating system, it really is the backbone of the World Handicap System. When we go out and rate a golf course, we're gathering the course rating, a bogey rating, which will then lead to a slope rating, which I'll explain just a little bit more on that. But with the World Handicap System, it's really making handicaps more portable, inclusive, and consistent across the board. And the course rating system addresses the portability of handicaps now. So it's adjusting a player's handicap index according to the relative difficulty of the golf course being played. And now you'll hear me mention a lot with the World Handicap System, but a lot of countries around the world weren't using the USGA course rating system before, but now they are adopting it, and courses around the world are using it so that we can take our handicaps over to Ireland, Scotland, or any other country that you're playing golf. So what is a course rating? So a course rating is the evaluation of the playing difficulty of a course for scratch golfers under normal course and weather conditions. So this is a number that we see very frequently. In this example, it's 71.8. But when we go out and rate a golf course, we're gathering data to produce this number here for the course rating. And we are also gathering data for a bogey rating. So we have a scratch golfer and a bogey golfer. So the bogey rating is the evaluation of the playing difficulty of a course for bogey players. So people who are around a 20 handicap for men or a 24 handicap for women. So they're not hitting it as far and they don't have as much accuracy as a scratch golfer would. So we're gathering data for both. And while you don't see the bogey rating publicly listed, as you would see the course rating and slope rating, it is still necessary to gather our slope rating. So basically, the slope is taking the difference between the course rating and the bogey rating, multiplying that by a factor, and then we get our slope rating here. So now I'll just kind of jump into the course rating process from the very beginning to the very end here. So prior to the rating, I'm going to reach out to all of our course raters, and I'm going to reach out to the course that we're rating to determine what the best day is to come out and rate. Many private courses, I wouldn't say many, but a few are closed on Mondays, so maybe we'll go out on a Monday and rate the course then when there's no golfers out on the course. But that's not always the case. I rely a lot on the course raters and their availability. So it really varies on what day that we do actually rate. But prior to the actual rating process, I've been sending a small group of about 2 to 3 raters to go out and measure the golf course ahead of time. So that means they're gathering the distance of the hole from each tee set that the course has. They're then measuring the width and depth of each green. And then they're measuring the evaluation or the elevation changes from each tee set to the green. This basically helps us speed up the process when we actually go to rate a course, because then when we know the actual hole yardage, we can determine the landing zones ahead of time. That way we're eliminating some of the math that we have to do at the actual rating. So once that group finishes up, someone from that group will return all the measurements to me, and I will prepare the necessary paperwork that's needed for a rating. So the day of the rating. So the raters typically arrive 10 to 15 minutes prior to the determined start time. We try to start around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. They'll split up into 2 to 3 groups. That depends on how many raters we have that day. Preferably, I like to have 3 groups. That way, you're only covering 6 holes apiece, and it will go by a little bit quicker. So I will bring or send along with somebody else all the tools needed for the rating. So it would be distance measuring devices, altimeters, stimp meters, golf balls, and the course rating guidebooks. Okay, so then the groups will split up, and you'll just grab a cart, and then you'll just cover the determined holes that were assigned to your group. So during the actual rating, there's a lot of different factors that we're looking at. So there's factors for the effective playing length. So the playing length of a hole, while we did measure it, it could end up being longer or shorter depending on these different factors. So roll is one of those factors. So if the landing zone has an uphill slope or downhill slope, that's either going to make the hole longer because we're not getting as much roll, or it's going to make the hole shorter because we're ending up getting more roll than we normally would on just like a flat ground. Obviously, we know that elevation changes that as well. And also if there's a dog leg or a forced layup for a penalty area or something like that. So all of these will affect the playing length of the hole. So some obstacle factors is the topography. So we're evaluating the stance and lie in the landing zones. You know, sometimes there's going to be a funky lie out there, and we definitely need to take that into account when we're rating. We're measuring the width of the fairways in the landing zones. It's going to be more difficult if it's a narrow landing zone, so we're gathering data for that. The green target, we measure the difficulty of hitting the actual green from the approach shot area. We take into account the rough, how thick it is, the length of the grass in the rough, how close it is to the middle of the fairway, things like that. Bunkers certainly play a factor, whether there's some in the fairway landing zones or not, or how much they're surrounding the green. We take that into account, and we also take their depth into account. We measure lateral penalty areas and crossings. For lateral, we basically measure how far they are from the middle of the fairway, and also how far they might be from the center of the green. And then obviously crossing, we're evaluating how far scratch and bogey golfers need to hit it to safely cross not necessarily to where they're hitting it, but just to be able to safely cross. We give them about a 10-yard buffer. So we take that length and we get some data from that. We're evaluating trees as well, you know, the density, how many trees, are there no trees out there, things like that. And then the green surface, we're checking the speed, which I gather that data typically ahead of time from the superintendent. We just get the average green speed. I find it hard to use the green speed from a specific day because maybe they're faster because they have their member guests coming up or something like that. So I try to get the average green speed, and the superintendent is the best contact for that. We also look at the contour of the greens. So with all of that, we typically have one rater in each group who's going to be the designated writer. So we see this picture here. It's just the cover of the course rating system guide. We use this book to gather all of the numbers as we go through, and this one designated writer is writing it on the sheet. And then the remaining people will do all the measurements, you know, width of the fairway, things like that. And then based on the measurements and different adjustments that there might be, which is all listed in the book, the course, so the writer will, you know, call out different numbers. We'll look at the charts in the book, and then we're getting numbers for, again, the scratch and bogey golfer. And it's going to be recorded on the Form 1. And then this is basically what a Form 1 looks like. I typically will kind of do my own just for the raters and translate it back onto this sheet here, but this is pretty standard for what it looks like. Then after the rating, each group, once you're done with your holes, they'll meet back at the clubhouse to finish up any additional paperwork that maybe you didn't do out on the golf course, just to kind of get out of the way for golfers. You'll return any tools and paperwork that were used and give it to either me or the rating leader for that day. I don't always attend all the ratings. You'll have lunch, and then if the course allows it and is available, the raters may play the course following the completion of the rating. Sometimes this will just verify some of the numbers that we got. It doesn't happen that often, but once in a while, some of the numbers might change just based on playing. So that's one of the perks of joining our course rating team, is being able to play some of these courses. But I do have to say, we do look for people who are willing to rate any golf course in the state, not just some of the nicer, more private courses that are harder to get on. Certainly, we ask that you do as many as you can. So after the rating, I will get all that data back and I'll enter it into the course rating program, all that data, and it will give me the course rating and slope for each tee set. So then I'll communicate those numbers back to the rating team and to the club for confirmation prior to publishing for people to post to them. Once it's confirmed, they'll be published for golfers to post to, and we'll pretty much be done with that. So I just want to point out how our work on the course rating team relates back to the World Handicap System. Okay, so you can kind of look at these different formulas for a score differential. Okay, so the slope rating and the course rating are both part of that formula. So they're very important that it's accurate information that we're getting, and we really, you know, take pride in what we do out there. It's also related to the course handicap as well. So both of those numbers are also in there. The other thing now with the World Handicap System is that in the rules of handicapping, it's recommended that courses are using course rating data to determine stroke index allocations for their course. So prior to the World Handicap System, courses would collect a large number of scorecards to determine the stroke index allocation. But now it's recommended that they use course rating data. The data is basically going to give you the hardest holes, but it's not necessarily going to be ranked that way because we kind of have clusters, as we see here. We try to put the 1 and 2 hardest holes, you know, right in the middle cluster there. But the course rating system is actually going to calculate this just based on the most commonly played tee set for each gender, and it will spit out these numbers, and I can give that to the course. It's just recommended. Not every course is going to use this option, but it certainly takes some of the subjectivity out of things and just allows just pure data to be used for this. So a little bit more about our course rating team. We try to complete between 10 and 15 ratings each season, typically May through October. And we try to aim to do 1 rating per week. Obviously, in the busier months like July and August, it tends to go down a little bit just based on how busy we are, how busy courses are, and things like that. And I mean, a lot of people are traveling over the summer, so we really need at least 9 raters to do a rating. For the 9-hole courses, we can get away with probably 6, but I prefer 9, and 12 is even better than that. So we're always looking for more raters. So currently it's made up about 20 men and women from all over the state, and their experience is ranging from 1 year to 20 years. So we have new raters and we have very experienced raters on our team. And if you join our course rating team, we'll certainly pair you with those more experienced ones who have taught people like me and some of our other ones along the way, some of the different practices. And then as raters become more experienced over the years, they have the opportunity to represent New Hampshire at the USGA Course Rating Calibration Seminar. So that seminar, basically, you go to it, you'll end up rating a couple golf courses, or I mean a couple holes on a golf course. And the USGA had, prior to us arriving, they had gone out and rated. And basically we're just comparing our numbers, and it's just that, it's a calibration to make sure that everybody is on the same page with the numbers and that we're rating the same way across the country here, because you want to be able to have very similar numbers and your handicap reflect well as you travel around the country to play golf. So that's basically our presentation. We're always looking for more volunteers. So if this is something that you're interested in, we would love to hear from you. You can contact us in our office, or you can send us an email to membership@nhgolf.com. But we certainly appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and we hope you'll consider joining us at the NHGA. Thank you.